What's going on, everyone? Juicebags here, and welcome back to some Dungeon Defenders 2. So I wanted to play around a little bit more with the lovely dragons from the Countess. And one thing is for certain, the downside about the dragons is they are a little bit pricey. 50 DU, you really need to, to be able to, for them to really be spectacular, it needs to be on a map where the lanes offer a lot of available DU. Now, it's kind of common knowledge that every single map in the game, if you come up with a 180 DU build, you can complete every map in the game. Now, what would you do with the dragons at under 180 DU? Now, the first thing that pops into mind for me personally would be just to go 3 dragons and then 1 destructed pylon. Would love to go with a boost star as well, but of course just this alone is 170 DU, and it would be under that 180 DU limit. If we take a look at my dragons now, I'll test all of these with the same relic on the dragons, so going Destruction, Mass Destruction, and Dragon's Haste on Anti-Chaos, Anti-Melee relic. If we look at the tooltip damage here on those, 6 million DPS, and we've got 3 of them laid down. Well, what if we want to throw some boosts into the mix? Well, the problem there is we just have to get rid of a dragon. We can't afford 3 dragons and to be able to have any sort of boost setups. So we could go something like this, with a Boostara and a Destructive Pylon on 2 dragons. Let's let them get buffed up. Looks like they're good now. And now we see the tooltip DPS is 9.3 million. So it's actually really close as far as total tooltip damage output. Now, obviously there's multiple dragons. This number is not accurate, but we're going to use the tooltips just as a basis for this experiment. So we've got this set up. We've got 2 doing 9.3 million, where before we had 3 doing 6 million. So about the same overall damage output. Now, what can we do to change this up? Now, Boostara is debatably not worth using at all without having Destructive Pylon outside of it. But what if we took our Destructive Pylon and put it on the Boostara itself? So now we would have to get rid of our destructions. We would go with Destructive Pylon, and then we'd have to go with Vampiric. Let's go. Let's see. Did I snag a Vampiric? I should have. Let's see. Let's check it out with Vampiric here. Destruction. There's a Vamp right there. Now, granted, if you have maxed Ascension caps into hero health, Vampiric is going to get you quite the value. However, most players are not going to be putting any points into their Boostara health at all, unless they just want to use 1 defense and you've got a relatively high Ascension level. But if we take a look at it with the Boostara setup with Destructive Pylon on it, and we throw it down, well, that's going to leave us another 40 DU, and that additional 40 DU, of course, would allow us to throw down a buff beam. Now, we're going to end up getting full value out of the buff beam because it does have a Destructive Pylon outside of it, where our Boostara is not going to perform as well now, but our buff beam is going to be just shredding it. So if we take a look at them now, we spent exactly 180 DU. We got 10.7 million DPS as far as tooltip DPS out of our Dragon's Nest. Now, once again, 3 of them at 6 million is 18 million tooltip DPS. 2 of them is 10 million or 10.7 million or 21.4 million DPS. So as far as tooltip DPS output, we would be getting more overall DPS out of the setup by going with 2 dragons. Now, the question is 2 dragons going to get overwhelmed? Of course, that's 6 total dragons out there, and it depends on the map, I think, and the number of enemies present. So let's go ahead and give this particular setup a shot on a Chaos 9 map and just see how it runs here. Let's hop into a pretty straightforward, easy one. We'll do, let's just say we'll do the gates here. We'll do the gates of Dragonfall. And here on the gates, of course, we've got 200 DU to spend per lane, but additionally, we do have flyer lanes as well. So we can use a little bit of our available DU by putting in some sort of flyer defense. So if we went something like this and threw just a Skyguard down here, we can then throw our 180 DU on each one of the lanes and still have room for the Skyguard to get a little something in. So let's go ahead and give that a shot and see how it holds up. Let's make sure these dragons are going to be right in the spawn area, and looks like right about there would be fine. And then we'll go ahead and throw our 180 DU setup. We want to do this on each lane, of course, so let's go ahead and go with, we want to do 2 more dragons, say right here. Additionally, let's go 2 more, say right about there. So we'll go ahead and get our boost stars in. And then we'll get our buff beam in on top of it. So let's see how this does. Now this is going to leave us, what, 10 DU left over? Yeah, we've got 10 DU left over. But we did have the ability to get that Skyguard into the mix to assist us a little bit with the flyer lanes. Now, I'm not going to do any upgrades because I just want to see how it will run on Wave 1 with no upgrades, and I'm going to kind of chillax it out in the back here. So let's go ahead and check it out on Wave 1 with the Destructive Pylon in the boost aura. Now, like I said, this essentially, it really smacks down the power of the boost aura. The boost aura needs that Destructive Pylon to be outside of it to hit the boost aura itself and buff it up. So we're losing that benefit, but let's just see how it will perform. Now, I've got crazy range on my Skyguards. Looks like we got a little Elder Wyvern pushing in. Let's just go ahead and smack that one down here. And actually, we got a few mobs pushing back. We've got quite a few mobs pushing through now. So, you know, although obviously this is an action defense game and not just a tower defense game, we're here to pick up the slack and, you know, quite a few enemies pushing through the rest of the pack, no doubt here. So that, of course, is with the 2 dragons and the Destructive Pylon inside of the boost aura. Now, quite a few enemies did push through. So I want to go ahead and restart it and check it now with the 3 dragons. So it's less damage output potential, but it's more things doing damage. So let's go ahead and replay the map and start off again with a little different setup. Okay, and now we're back in the gates. I've got my shards moved back around. We've got the Destructive Pylon back over on the Lightning Aura now. And I wanted to do the same thing, but use the 3 dragons with just a Destructive Pylon instead. So we'll go ahead and throw down our Skyguard Tower like we had. And let's go with 3 dragons. We can just kind of just throw them out there like that. And then we'll get a Destructive Pylon on these 3 dragons. Now, additionally, with this setup, although the damage output is not a massive, since it's not set up to do damage, just a support tower, but we do get an extra 2.2 million in single target damage right there on that Lightning Strike Aura as well. But let's go ahead and get that done. Let's do the same thing here. We'll throw the Destructive Pylon like right off to the side. And then we'll go with our 3 dragons. Now, we're going to get another benefit here, and that is we're going to have a little bit more leftover DU. Now, what we do with that DU, of course, there's 40 more left over, so you can kind of do whatever you want with it. Just to keep things apples to apples in comparison, though, with the direct power level, we're not going to do anything with that other 40. So just going to let it sit there, and let's let it fly this time and see what happens here. So we should get a similar result, really, but I'm not sure if having the extra dragon's nest or the 3 more dragons is actually going to impact it, which it just may. You know, it just may, as, you know, of course there's going to be more dragons hitting more targets. Now we've got our Elder Wyvern, of course, pushed through. We've got a Berserker pushed through as well. Looks like Is this, yeah, that Elder Wyvern's going to push through also. Ooh, our Skyguard got put down. Was not expecting that. And it looks like now we just don't have the level of power, as some of the mobs making it through are kind of a little bit of a surprise to me personally. Let's go and throw that Skyguard back down here. It actually looks like a really, really comparable result. It's about the same thing. Towards the end of the wave, there was less mobs that pushed through. So to be honest with you, I think this may just be a null experiment, because I think either way would get the job done, without a doubt. But like the start of the wave, it felt like set up like this, a few more enemies may have pushed through, but as the wave progressed, it felt like more enemies died, and then the Skyguard didn't get any action in, really, as the flyers just didn't push through. So we were able to hit more targets with less power using the 3 and just the destructive pylon, but we were hitting, you know, for less total damage output, even though we were hitting more targets. So, you know, what do you think? What do you guys think? What was the stronger of those two types of layouts? As, to be honest with you, I think it was so close in comparison that literally either one of the builds would work. And, you know, you'd have to be active, of course, through Wave 1 with a few upgrades then. But I think that was a it was pretty close. The results were definitely not super wide. But let me know what you all think about these two setups down in the comments below. I'm loving the dragons, and I want to play around with them more, but just trying to kind of fine-tune what would the optimal setup be for using that awesome dragon's nest. But that will get it for now. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you next time around. Take it easy.